Hi, my name's Josh, and here I'm today. Wow. I'm here today to talk about hacking your way to happiness. And now, I come from a software background, so when I say hacking, I don't mean with like a hatchet. I don't mean in like breaking into someone's computer and stealing their data. I mean coming up with clever solutions to hard problems. Now, if you know programmers, they're kind of an interesting lot. They like funny T-shirts. They don't mind going to conferences dressed in very casually. Yeah, that's cool. But I think a lot of that kind of rubs off on the way they have to interact with computers. Computers are very, well, I wouldn't say they're fickle, but they're not fickle. They're very precise. You have to be very specific with them, what you want to do. If you have a bug with your software, it's probably your fault. Because of that, like, programmers end up being a bit literal. There's a joke that goes, a programmer's wife asks him to go to the store, get a loaf of bread. If they have eggs, get 12. He returns with 12 loaves of bread. She asks why. He said, well, they had eggs. That's just one example. There are some more beneficial advantages of being a developer and learning the ways of the computer. An exercise in programming is one of working within constraints, physical ones, like how much memory a computer has, how much storage it has. But it's also one of working on problem solving constantly throughout the course of the day. Like I lose track of on a full day of programming how many problems I encounter and solve in the course of the day. So we end up working within those constraints and constantly doing those problems. We end up coming up with pretty creative solutions. So why am I talking about hacking your way to happiness? Well, let's step back about a year and a half ago, and by appearances, I should have been happy. I had a great job. I was living in Savannah. I'd been here about a year and a half. Savannah is very relaxing, very laid back. Met a lot of friends down here, so by appearances, I should have been happy. Sometimes, though, it takes a third party to kind of realize that something's amiss, something needs to change. I was working a lot, and a lot of my personal life is kind of in shambles. The pieces of the puzzle were on the ground and wet, as Amy described earlier. I moved down from Boston. My family's from New Hampshire, so Christmas 2011, I was visiting them. Now, since it's a lot harder to travel from New Hampshire to Savannah and vice versa than it is to Boston, I tend to visit less frequently, but for longer periods of time. But because I was working so much, I brought my work home with me. And as I learned, the relationship with my parents has traditionally been good, but I found that it's a litmus test for my emotional well-being. So I go home. Normally, when I was back home and here in Savannah, I'd work all day, come home, turn on the TV, break out the laptop, do some more work, maybe hang out for a little bit, but then go to bed, check my email for work, do some more work, go to bed, wake up, kind of repeat that process. Now, when I was back visiting my parents, now I was inflicting myself on other people. Turns out I ended up being very short, very ill-tempered with them. They say something, I just kind of jumped out my throat. Now, if you know me, you see that should probably surprise you. It got so bad, my mother sat me down. I was actually probably sitting down on a sofa with my laptop, and she said, Josh, you don't have to be so short with us. We just want to talk to you. You're working too hard. You're spending too much time on the computer. It's not healthy. And she was right. And I do remember breaking down, crying, and resolving to change that. So at this point, I'm unhappy. I realize it, and I want to do something about it. Now, I'm a programmer, so I have a pretty good tool set to draw from, ways to try to fix my life. So let's see. For example, normally developers given very large problems. Ones that you can't be solved in a day. What's the saying? Rome wasn't built in a day. Neither was software projects. So we're very good at decomposing the problem, making smaller, accomplishable things. So that has a few benefits. So first, that one problem, you can solve that in a day or some amount of time. Not only that, as you solve those problems in tandem or in series, you can decide if that big problem is worth pursuing or if it's even the right problem. Or you might even realize, oh, I don't even need to solve the rest of the things. I'm already there. So in my pursuit of happiness, I wanted to make sure to break it down, target specific things I can make actual progress towards. And I want to have some fun with it too. So I don't want to work hard at I'm making my life happy. That'd be weird. Programmers like to say we're pretty lazy, and it's probably not in the obvious way. It's more in the more aversion to tedium. So if I had to spend 10 more minutes every morning doing something that I think is tedious, I would much prefer spending 8 hours working to automate that, get rid of that problem in my life. We're weird like that, but I think that's part of that relates to some of the early talks about like, well, we're actually creating something and you're getting some joy out of solving that problem. So I set out. I already had three big things that really bothered me. First was my weight. I was being fueled by pizza and beer, as Brad was talking about. I'd get home and I wouldn't want to do anything. I wouldn't want to cook. Didn't even want to leave the house. So I ended up doing a lot of delivery, and that takes its toll over time. The next was, again, I get from home from work. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to take care of like cleaning my apartment. That takes several hours, and who has time for that? And again, laundry. Laundry would just like pile up, and I just would never, basically do it just in time to have clean clothes for the day, usually. So armed with 3 problems, I went about trying to fix them, and as a good programmer does, I Googled it. So for the cook, let's see. Well, I should also say I had some constraints. The first is time, obviously, as I've been mentioning a few times. But on the plus side, I did have being unmarried, childless, no car, renting. Like, I had a bit of disposable income, so I could trade my money for time. So Googled, all right, I'm not going to learn how to cook because that would take too much time. So I Googled personal chef Savannah, and sure enough, there is actually a personal chef in Savannah. Her company's name is Pantry Elf, which on name alone is like one of the best names in the world, and I almost signed up immediately. Her name's Chef Nora. She's awesome. Basically worked with me, gave me a list of a form to fill out, taste, things like that. And I had the goal of like, well, I just want to eat better. So she basically made a menu, went out shopping, brought all her utensils, brought it to my kitchen, cooked, bagged it up, put it in Tupperware, put it in the fridge, and I came home and to a wall of aroma in my apartment. It was the most glorious thing ever. So that was pretty awesome. And I mentioned having a good time. Like, having a personal chef is kind of ridiculous. I've never known anyone else that has done that. So that was one problem. Next problem was my apartment. And while this one is, I think, one that's more commonly encountered and people solve, well, obviously a cleaning service. So actually, I didn't have to Google this one. I knew people that had referenced or had used one and really liked them. Another great name, Saved by the Bells, the Paris Sisters, and that's Belles. Basically, they came once to deep cleaning, and then every 2 weeks after that, they just come and take care of everything. And I don't really have to worry about it. I don't need to even, I don't have to talk to them. They just come and show up. And the third of that initial problem was the cleaning, the clothes. So again, Google, Savannah dry cleaning. And I found one, and the important that I need to have someone that would come to my door because, well, I wasn't going to carry stuff to a dry cleaning, and I didn't have a car to do that. So it was very important they came to me. So I found someone to do that. Now, a few months later, everything was going well. My house was in order. I was eating better, and things were going really well. The trick, though, is someone asked me, like, much later, it's like, well, you've outsourced all these things. What are you doing? And that's kind of the million-dollar question. And still trying to figure that out. What I realized actually is my title is a misnomer. It wasn't hacking your way to happiness. It was hacking away your unhappiness. One thing I realized, even though I continued doing a lot of different little projects, but I found coming into the spring, there was still a problem. And maybe I should have seen it in the first place. The fact that I was working so hard and so long, and it was still stressing me out. It caused me a lot of grief and bad emotions. I have a friend that he likes to say, given a situation, there are 3 ways to deal with it. You can deal with it, cope. You can change it, or you can leave it. Now, I attended a conference in Boston. I got to stay with some friends that are also programmers, and they loved their job. They were having an amazing time, and they couldn't wait to tell people about it. Then I attended a conference with my peers in the same industry, and everyone, again, having a great time. They loved their job, they loved their company, and here I was. I had a hard time, like, not only saying good things, but actively saying bad things. And it was that I knew I needed to change. Now, the way I decided to deal with this is to basically just quit my job. And it's kind of normally you do interviewing and line up something, but I didn't have time for that. So what I did, I've been saving money because I had a little extra disposable cash, and quit my job, didn't have anything lined up, and took some fun employment. Now, I talked about my parents being a litmus test to my well-being. I gave my mom a call a few weeks ago. I don't remember what it was about, but it was a long call. It was like 30 minutes. Normally, I don't like talking on the phone. And I got a short email from my dad the next day. He's like, "Your mother really enjoyed talking to you yesterday. Thank you. You've rejoined humanity after all the stress of your jobs. Thank goodness you're moving on to the next chapter in your life. Thank you very much."